Good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm Wayne. Welcome to Wednesdays with Wayne. I think we're live. Okay. Okay, good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm Wayne. Welcome to Wednesdays with Wayne. Today, I want to talk about something that happened last week that prompted me to tell you a story that I think you're really going to benefit from. Before we get into it, the first thing I want to do, as always, is thank you for your time. As a friend of mine said to me a long time ago, the most valuable thing anyone can give you is their time. So thank you for your time. I'll do my best to make sure it's well spent. Also, I want to thank Mark Zuckerberg over at Facebook and the crew over there for doing this, making this possible. Still can't believe they're not charging us for this, but it's really great that we have technology that allows us to do things at no cost and videotape and send it around the world. So it's very cool. So thank you to Facebook for providing this platform. And also thank you to the Real Estate Business School, where you get your license and learn to use it. Your license guarantees you nothing. It's simply the entry fee you get that you pay to get into the game. It does not give you the skills to play the game or to succeed at the game. You need three types of education. It takes three types. The technical education to pass the state licensing exam, the business education your clients expect you to have, and the financial education you're going to need to buy property, because the wealth in real estate is in owning it, not listing it and selling it to someone else for 3% at a pop. You're never going to get rich 3% at a time. So today my topic is how the rich get richer, and how and why, and how you can too. So thank you for your time. So I'll start off with this. If you think that you can't get rich because you're oppressed, or you've been suppressed, or someone's out to get you, or it's discrimination is because you're black or brown or anything other than white, or you don't have, or it's your religion, or it's your background, or it's your dialect, or it's your size, or your shape, that's all a bunch of hooey. People discriminate. And most races discriminate against most other races because everybody thinks their race is better. I'll give you that. There's discrimination in the world. There's even a word for someone who has very refined tastes. They say she has very discriminating tastes. People discriminate. Capital doesn't discriminate. Capital doesn't care. This is what I love about investing. And this is what I love about having a financial education. If you can just get this, no one's discriminating against you when it comes to the capital society. Capital is looking for growth. If you can make capital grow, you'll have capital. It doesn't matter about you. What matters is your deal. If your deal makes sense, capital will flow to it. It will attract capital and people with capital. So you can get lazy and blame other people and shuck it all off and say it's someone else's fault, but it's not. Getting rich is a choice. It's a choice that people make day by day. Your future is created moment by moment by what you do in the present. So what we're going to go into, it was really great. I was talking to this guy last week, and he was complaining about his lot in life. He's doing pretty well, I thought. Had a nice little business, nice family, nice house, and he looked like he was doing pretty well, but typically, he's working too hard, not making enough. So he's whimpering, whinging, and whining, and he's going on and on and on. And I just think it's unseemly for a grown man to whine. So I interrupted him, as I'm known to do, and I don't apologize for it. I just said, I looked over, I noticed his truck, his work truck. It's a brand new, beautiful work truck. Why does a work truck have to be brand new and beautiful? It's a work truck. It's not an urban truck. It's a rural truck. So right away I see the problem. So I said, how much was the truck? He said $50,000. I said, if you take the $50,000, you could have bought a house instead. And he started arguing with me. So I just quit. I said, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you. So two sayings I live by. One is, don't teach pigs to sing. Do not teach pigs to sing. It wastes your time and it annoys the pig. Forget about it. I'm not going to argue with this guy. He's going to make himself right, have a nice life. Not going to argue. The other thing is when you argue with an idiot, you know what you get? Two idiots. So I decided not to be the other idiot. So I just said, okay, well, I hope you get that worked out and see you later. But I got to thinking about it. I thought, how can I use that to tell a story? So I have a story for you today. And the story is about, it's an example of what I've been saying over and over about wealth and getting rich. It's a choice. It doesn't matter how much you make. It's how much you spend. And I started thinking about this. How can I drive this point home or make it clearer? Well, what made it clear to me was I see all these rich people. You know, the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and the Porsches and the mansions and the boats. And I'm like, man, they sure spend a lot of money. So then I see people who think that's how they're rich. That's what it takes to be rich. You buy all that stuff. So go buy a house, your house and you can afford. Buy a fancy car, take expensive, spend all that money. It makes you rich. So there's perception out there that the rich people, this is how you live if you're rich. What they don't understand, I'm guessing, what they don't see is what happens is the poor and the middle class work for money and consume. The poor and the middle class work for money and then consume. And the rich work for money, either exchange their labor or have a business. Either way, they're working and they're making money, but then they invest. And their investments pay for their consumption. Their investments pay for their luxuries. So it's a choice. So when I say it doesn't matter how much you make, it's how you spend, that's what I'm talking about. So capital doesn't discriminate. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about today, okay? This is kind of rudimentary. I'm shooting from my office today instead of the kitchen. I told Lynn the other day, I said, I've always wanted to teach from the island. She goes, you're at an island. I said, yeah, the problem is it's in the kitchen. That's my COVID joke for the week. So I'm going to turn this to my screen. If you don't mind, please bear with me because this is kind of a rough presentation. But I want to show you this diagram, this piece I put together, and hopefully this will help. So hopefully you can see my screen here. Okay, so this is called How and Why the Rich Get Richer and How You Can Too. It's really not that difficult. So I want to walk you through this, okay? And you're going to see what I'm talking about. It's been raining here. So that internet connection might be a little slow. So I'll do my best to get through it. I apologize for the lag. So this is what I'd like to go over with you today. So thank you for showing up, and we'll go through this as best we can and see if we can get this done. It looks like that internet connection might be a little slow. So I'm trying to get through it. Apologize for the lag. So this is what I'd like to go over with you today. So thank you for showing up. We'll go through this as best we can and see if we can get this done. Looks like. Okay, so here's what happens. The rich get richer. Why the rich get richer, you can too. So I look at this guy's truck, and here's the truck that he bought for $50,000. And chances are good he financed it. So when he financed it, I asked him what his payment was. He said $800. So he's paying $800 a month, or $9,600 a year. And let's say he does that for 5 years. He does that. Let me just. So the truck's going to depreciate, okay? As we all know, as soon as you drive it off the lot, it starts depreciating. And it keeps depreciating until it stops running. It depreciates. It goes down in value every day until finally it just dies. If you Google truck depreciation, ask Mr. G will tell you these vehicles lose about 15 to 20% of the value per year. So if you depreciate that over 5 years, in 5 years it's worth about $17,000. And what do? They sell it and buy a new one. You don't sell it here, you buy it here. No offense, but you don't sell them here, you buy them here. You buy it for 17. You don't sell it for 17. Nonetheless, this is what happens to a truck over 5 years. And if you calculate this, he's got a negative 123% return on his cash invested. It's all gone and plus some. He's only back to zero. He's underwater 23%. Plus, he's lost $33,000 of value on his, quote, asset. And as we learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, assets feed you by putting cash flow into your pocket. Liabilities eat you by taking cash flow out of your pocket. So this is why asset is in quotes, because it's not an asset, obviously. It's a liability. Well, most people call them assets because it's not really their fault, because we've been lied to about money and wealth and finance. And there's a lot of benefit to a lot of people in us having minimal or no financial education. And if you want to be rich, the first thing you got to do, in my opinion, is understand money and get a financial education. So thank you for being here. I appreciate your time today. I'm doing my best, as I said, to make sure it's well spent and go through this example of it does matter. Not how much you make, but how you spend. So this is the choice that this gentleman made. He spent $48,000 to lose an additional $33,000. So $48,000 in cash is gone, and he's now lost $33,000 or 66% in value of his asset, his quote asset. It went from $50,000 to $7,000 in value to $17,000. According to the depreciation schedules that I see. If Mr. G is wrong, you will talk to the guys at Google, because I'm not an expert in truck depreciation. Let's say it's not near that number. The fact is it declined in value and his money's gone, his assets worth less. That's the point. Don't get hung up in the minutia and try to make everything wrong so you can be right. Just get the lesson. The total loss is $81,000 over 5 years. So he's losing $16,200 a year, or $1,350 a month, or $45 a day. Please pay attention to this number right here. When people say to you it doesn't matter, they're about to get in trouble. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday these roosters, these cows, all these animals that come home to roost, you know, they talk about the roosters that come home to roost and the cows that come home, and all these animals return back to the house. Yeah, that day's going to get here, and at $45 a day, that adds up. And this is what it adds up to. So, what I said, here's what my suggestion, or one option could be, instead of spending the $800 a month on this debacle right here, that's just a horrible idea if you want to get ahead financially. If you want to look like you're rich, this is a great idea. You go buy a new truck, you bang it all to pieces because it's a work truck, you drive the wheels off of it, and you go get another one. Keep doing that your whole life and try to get rich. It's just not going to happen. But what could we do instead? If we can agree that this may not be the best idea, since what they call that thing sliced bread, maybe, okay, Wayne, what else could we do? What do you want me to do instead? Okay, great question. Now we're making progress. How about this? How about if you saved $800? Because you've got $800. You've got it. You don't have to go find it. You have it in this example. You save the $800. Figure out another way to get around. Buy a cheaper used truck someone else has already beat the pieces and buy it instead of a new one. Save the $800. In 2 years, you got $20,000. Tesla is coming to Austin. Buy a house near Tesla for $200,000. There is one on the market. I know because I did my research. There's a house for $214,000, nice little 1,400 square foot house, out just a few miles from the new $1 billion Tesla plant is going to be. It's going to attract a lot of employees for a lot of good jobs, and there'll be housing that's springing up all around that plant right now. They haven't stuck a shovel in the ground yet. A shovel has not gotten dirty yet. And they're building like crazy out there. Just buy a house that already exists. For $200,000, you can get a house. I know, I saw it. You can put the $20,000 down. Now look, this is how cool this is. You get a loan for $180,000 for 30 years. You can all day long get 5% money. I saw a loan yesterday for 2.87%. That was on $1 million loan. For a loan this small, lot lower. So let's say, but just for example, say you did that, your principal and interest are going to be $966 a month. Your taxes on this particular property are going to be $242, and your insurance is $2,000. So for $1,408 out of pocket, you can own this house. But what if you put a tenant in there? Well, I Googled rents, and guess what? I didn't Google it. I apologize. I misspoke. I went into MLS, the Austin Board of Realtors, multiple listing service. And I looked at other properties that are renting in this area. This house will rent all day long because there's several in the market right now at this size for $1,650 a month. You subtract the $1,408 of total outlay, and you get $242 a month positive cash flow. That's $2,900 a year. Okay? That's a nice simple start. Instead of buying a truck, you buy this little house. Now, let's look at what happens. We did this scenario up here where you buy the truck and you hold the truck and you beat up the truck and you pay for the truck, you lose your butt on the truck, you lose your money on the truck, you lose the value of the truck, and it's just loser, 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 loser. And you show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser. And this is a dead dog loser. Let's just compare it to the house. Okay. Do homes go up in value? Yes. So let's assume, and we can assume because sometimes they don't go up in value. And in Austin and in Central Texas or Texas area, if the supply ever reaches the demand, we'll see a market correction. If the demand falls, we're going to see a market correction. We'll see less or no appreciation if the supply ever catches up with the demand. But right now the demand is raging, and the typical appreciation in the Austin area has been 3.36% over the last decade. And for the past 5 years, it was 52%, according to the Austin Board of Realtors and the Austin Business Journal. So let's say we buy this house. At the end of year, excuse me, our fair market value is $200,000 because that's what we paid. And the definition, as we know, of fair market value is what a buyer is willing to pay, what a seller will sell for. So they agreed on $200,000, so that's fair market value. FMV, fair market value, because that's what it sold for. Let's say it makes 3.36%, which is the average right now. That's $6,720 a year. The new value of this property at the end of the first 12-month period, in the first year, $206,720. Okay, so year 2, now the house is worth $206,720. We add 3.36 appreciation to that. There's the new amount. There's our new value. And we do this again for year 3. The new value is $213,666. We add our appreciation of 3.36%. The dollar amount is $71.79. And look, our new value, $220 and some change. Almost $221,000. How cool is that? Capital doesn't discriminate. Year 4, $221,845 plus our appreciation, new value, $228,265. Year 5, $228,265 plus our annual appreciation. There's a new number. We now have an asset. This is now an asset. It's growing in value and it's generating cash flow. Almost $236,000. Just 5 years. So is the property rising in value? Yes. What else is rising? Rents. When you see property values go up, you'll see rents go up. So when you write your leases, put rent escalations or bumps in there. And it should be about that much. So let's say your year 1 cash flow is $2,900, which according to our projection, it is. It's right here. Your rents minus your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. $242 a month. $2,900 a year. Yes, there might be some maintenance. Yes, there might be some repairs. I get all the but. I get all that. I know how it works. Just go with the concept for now. This is not the absolute numbers. Just compare this to the truck and see if you think it might be a better decision. That's all I'm asking you to do. Just think about this. So let's say year 2, our cash flow goes up by 3.5%, which is, it's only $101.50. But now our new cash flow number for the year is $3,001.50. So year 3, we take our $3,001.50, add 3.5%. There's our new monthly. There it is. That goes, our new annual, there it goes. It goes to $3,106. Year 4, your $3,106.55 goes up another $100 and almost $9. Your new cash flow is $32.15.28. You take your new cash flow, add your appreciation, goes to that much. If you take these cash flows at the end of all these numbers, at the end of these sentences right here, and you add them up, so you get 2,900 plus 3,000, this number, plus 3,106.55, plus 32.15.28, plus 33.27.20. You get 15,551 in cash. Cash. That's cash flow coming in every month. Cash flow is coming in. You accumulate it. Your cash flow becomes cash. You convert your cash to cash flow, and it comes back, and you accumulate it. It goes back to cash. So your cash on cash return, 78%. You put out $20,000. You got back 15,500 and change. That's 78%. Cash on cash. What does cash on cash tell you? When you get your money back. And you got 78% of your money back in 5 years. So your cash on, that's a 78% cash on cash gain versus 123% loss on a truck. So it doesn't matter how much you make. What matters is how you spend. That's the point I'm trying to make today. So here are the results. Your $20,000 investment is now worth $236 almost. You have $56,000 in equity. And the definition of equity, as we know, is fair market value, which is the new value today, which is this number. It appreciated 3.36% per year for 5 years. You pay $200, it's now worth almost $236. We still have that underlying debt, or the mortgage, the loan we took out to acquire this property. So now we're getting rich with someone else's money. We gave them $200, they gave us $180. We bought an asset that's performing really nicely. That's how the rich get rich. So this is the fair market value. The definition is equity, fair market value minus the loan amount or the debt. So we got $56,000 equity in this nice little house and rising. For now, the market's still going up. You have 78% of your cash back instead of gone forever. You have $3,300 annual cash flow and rising. Now let's compare the two. Compared to a truck that is now worth $17,000 after spending $48,000 on it. So, ladies and gentlemen, when I say it makes no difference how much you make, it's how you spend, this is what I'm talking about. So this is the definition of opportunity cost. And often, opportunity cost is defined as the gain on one investment versus the gain on another. So you have two investments in front of you. Let's say it's opportunity A and opportunity B. Opportunity gives you a 22% IRR, internal rate of return over 5 years, and opportunity B gives you a 28% internal rate of return over 5 years. The difference between the two is your opportunity cost. You chose the wrong investment. You looked at your stats, you looked at your performer, you did your research, you just made a bad call. Look, it happens all the time. But that's nothing compared to this. This is a horrible call. Buying a truck instead of this house. So what I'm talking about now is not comparing one investment to another investment. Okay? I'm not talking about comparing one investment to another investment. I'm talking about the way you spend your money. And if you go buy a truck that performs like this, what happens is, this is your opportunity cost. The difference between spending your money on a truck or taking the same money and spending it on a house, this is the opportunity cost. So far, this is only 5 years into it. Extrapolate this over a lifetime and repeat it 10 times. That's how the rich get rich. So far, it's the gain from the house is almost $75,000. That's the $56,000 that's grown in equity, plus the $15,500, $15,551 in cash that's been returned to us in a form of rents, cash flow, plus it's cash flowing $3,300 a year. Versus the $81,000 loss on the truck. So the difference between the two is called the opportunity cost. And if you take the plus $74,851 and take off the $81,000, it's $155,000, $851 opportunity cost. $155,000, $851,000. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how and why the rich get richer. Getting rich is a choice. This is the difference between money and wealth. So wealth, again, as we talked before, the ability to survive X number of days into the future without working, lowering your standard of living, or liquidating assets. So again, wealth is a choice. Doesn't matter how much you make, it's how you spend. So when you see all that flash and trash and all that great doodah that you see somebody driving, the question you got to ask yourself is, are they looking good, being cool, and going nowhere, paying that out of their labor, hoping they can make their next month's payment? Or are they exchanging labor for money still, which is what the poor and middle class do? Or is that a really, really smart, educated, financially educated person who's managed to invest their way into that vehicle that looks pretty cool and really going quite quickly down the road that I would like to have? So I'll end with this. You can't have what you resent. If you resent rich people, there's nothing anyone can do for you. If you think that rich people are crooks, there's nothing anyone can do for you. If you can just look at the models of the rich and ask yourself this question: do I want to be rich? Yes. Do I want to be wealthy? Yes. What do I need? Financial education. What do? You do what Warren Buffett said in his book, Snowball. If you haven't read Snowball, please read it. It's very simple. You delay gratification. I'm not saying you do it without the sports car. I'm thinking you go out buy the coolest sports car your little heart desires. Go get it. Just invest first. If you can put that off for 5 years or 10 years or 15 years and go accumulate a massive quantity of wealth and just go buy a house a year. All you have to do is repeat this process once a year, and you can do that. Any of you watching this, anyone you know, anyone can do this. If you want to know how or have any questions, just email us, info@buildmyrebusiness.com. The Real Estate Business School, where you get your license and learn to use it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the learn to use it part. That's how you use a license. I have access to MLS. I have all this data at my fingertips. It's really easy to do a quick down and dirty analysis, and that's how you find deals. info@buildmyrebusiness.com. Once you get wealthy, you can buy your time back. Once you have more time, you can spend more time getting wealthy. That's a new catch-22, and it spirals up, not down like a truck. Okay, that's it for today. This has been Wednesdays with Wayne, September 8th, 2020, September 9th, 2020. Yes, the 9th. Thank you for showing up. Good luck in your business. Let's go out and make it a better world. See you next week. Wednesdays with Wayne. Thank you for your time.